How's it, everyone? I'll be showing you today how I was able to raise my credit from the mid 600s to around the mid 700s. And after fixing my credit, that's the real reason why I was able to get my first real credit card. And no, I did not pay to somehow boost my credit score, and I didn't use any fancy website or tool to boost my credit score for me. I use tips and tricks that I'll be sharing with you in this video so that way you too can increase your credit score. Then you'll be able to get that credit card that you've always wanted, or that car loan, or that mortgage. And I've heard many different stories before where people could not get the house or condo or living situation that they wanted simply because their credit score was not high enough. It sucks how your credit score can control so many major things in your life, but I want you guys to be able to control your credit score so that way you have as many options and flexibility as you can. But we won't stop there because you'll also learn how to maintain that good credit score so that way you'll never have to try and rebuild it again. On this channel, we talk a lot about credit cards, and I have been fortunate enough to have a solid credit card portfolio. But it wasn't always like that. Just like some of you, I use purely cash or just my debit card to pay for everything. Little did I know that I was missing out on hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars of value from not using credit cards. That's because credit cards not only give you rewards for using them when you pay, but also gives you benefits and credits such as airport lounge access, Uber credit, and so on. And you can't get any of that with bad credit, so that's why it's so important to learn how credit score works and how you can increase it. When I first started taking my credit seriously, that's when I initially checked to see what my credit score was. I did that to see where I stand as far as the whole credit score game goes, and I used Credit Karma, which is not a sponsor, to check my credit score. But that isn't the only free way that you could use to check your credit score. You could also get a free credit report once a year from all three credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So before you start doing any of those tips and tricks that I'll be sharing with you in this video, it's a good idea to actually find out what your current credit score is. That's all I'm going to say about checking your credit score because there's tons of ways that you could do that, and that's not the point of this video. I am here to tell you the tips and tricks that I use to get my credit score from the mid 600s to the mid 700s. And the first method that I used was to become an authorized user. An authorized user is an additional card holder on someone else's credit card account. You have a credit card that is in your name, but it is linked to the primary cardholder's credit card account. Authorized users can make payments with that credit card on the account, but they cannot change account settings such as increasing the credit line, changing the payment date, and so on. But an important thing to note is that the primary cardholder is still responsible for the authorized user's payments. That is why you must be an authorized user on someone else's account that trusts you. A lot of the times, your primary cardholder could be your mom, your dad, or even your boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, or maybe even a really good friend. In my case, my primary account holder when I started was my dad, and I was his authorized user. Being added as an authorized user is good for many reasons. The first is that it will start your credit history. And this is one of the bigger benefits because a lot of times credit card issuers will decline your application for your first credit card because you don't have a lengthy credit history. And that sucks because how are you supposed to have a lengthy credit history if you don't even have a credit card? That's why you're applying for your first credit card anyway, right? Well, if you become an authorized user, you won't have to deal with that. Another reason why becoming an authorized user is such a great idea is because you'll have a history of on-time and in-full payments. And one of the worst things you could do for yourself and your credit score is to miss a credit card payment entirely. You definitely don't want that to happen. Even though you're the authorized user and the primary card holder is responsible for paying the account, you should make sure that your payments are being sent on time and in full. So when you are an authorized user, it is your unofficial job to make sure the account primary cardholder is making those payments. But what if you can't become an authorized user? Because sometimes it's hard to find someone that would trust you enough to have them add you as an authorized user. Is your hope of having a good credit score completely gone? Well, not exactly, because there are still things that you could do that will help increase your credit score. As a matter of fact, even if you are lucky enough to become an authorized user, these next tips and tricks will still be important for you to help increase your credit score, and better yet, to help maintain that good credit score forever. or at least for a very long time. The first tip is to lower your credit utilization. Your credit utilization is how much credit you are using out of the total credit available to you. You have a credit line of $1,000 and you are using $500 of that credit. Your credit utilization is 50%. Credit utilization is a high impact factor when it comes to your credit score. In fact, it makes up 35% of your total credit, which means if you have a high credit utilization, your credit score will suffer badly. This is a helpful graph to use throughout this video and on your credit card journey because it shows you all of the factors that play into your credit score and which ones have a greater impact than the others. With that said, what credit utilization should you aim for? Obviously, the lower the better, so 0% is ideal, but not practical. As a general rule of thumb, you should keep your credit utilization under 30%. But that's just average, and I don't want you to be just average. I would highly recommend for you guys to get your credit utilization into the 10 to 15% range. Once you do that, I can almost guarantee that your credit score will get a nice little bump from that. And you can get your credit utilization into that range or lower by doing a few different things. The first is to get more credit available to you. And the two major ways to get more credit is to 1, get a new credit card, or 2, to increase the credit lines on your current credit cards. I did make a video about increasing your credit lines up here, which will help you get started with that. When it comes to getting a new credit card, you don't want to get just any random card out there. Applying for too many cards and having credit cards that you don't use could actually harm your credit score. Instead, find credit cards that you'll actually use and give you value that you deserve. A tip is to start off with no annual fee credit cards so that way you don't have to pay anything to use that card. I do have a few examples of credit cards that might be good for you in the description below if you wanted to look more into it. Another way to lower your credit utilization is to pay your credit bill before it is reported. Every month, your credit card has a statement opening and a statement closing date. And whatever purchases you make between those two dates will end up on your credit card bill for the month and also will be reported to the credit card bureaus. But if you pay off a majority of your credit card bill before the statement closing date, you could actually have less credit reported to the credit bureaus, which will lower your credit utilization and overall increase your credit score. And if you still have questions about how exactly this works, please do let me know in the comments below. Okay, so lowering your credit utilization will help to increase your credit score, but what else can you do? Another tip that is an absolute must is that you should always be paying off your credit card bills on time and in full every month. Because one of the worst things that you could do, even worse than having a high credit utilization, is to miss a credit card payment. On top of that, you should not be leaving a balance on your credit card from month to month. This is called credit card debt, and you don't want to find yourself down that rabbit hole. All of this is called your payment history, and going back to that graph we talked about earlier, it also plays a huge part in your overall credit score. But if you absolutely must carry a balance on your credit card, please make sure that you are at least paying the minimum payment every month. And you can find out your minimum payment on your credit card bill or statement. Because if you don't pay at least the minimum payment amount, it will count as a missed payment. The fourth tip is to spread out your credit. This tip is kind of a 2-in-1 because on one hand, you do want to continue to get new credit, but on the other hand, you don't want to get too much new credit at the same time. Despite popular belief, having more credit accounts will actually help increase your credit score. If everything else is equal, someone with 10 credit card accounts will have a higher credit score than someone with just 1 credit card account. To take things further, it helps to diversify the types of credit that you have on your account. That means it's good to have a mix of credit cards or car loans and mortgages. But let me reiterate this. Do not open mortgages or loans or even new credit cards unless you have to. I don't want you guys to go into more debt or debt at all just to try and increase your credit score. It kind of defeats the purpose. I also mentioned that you want to get credit as soon as possible and hold those credit accounts open for as long as possible. So if you're young and watching this right now, go out there and at least get a credit card account so that way you can start building your credit history and your credit age. Sure, you could bump your credit score by 100 points or more in a relatively short period of time. But at the end of the day, building your credit score takes time, and it is super beneficial for you to get 2 to 4 credit card accounts every year than it is to get them all at one time. That's because applying for too many credit card accounts or credit accounts in a short period of time will actually be bad for your credit score. Most of the time, these banks and credit card issuers can actually see when and how many credit accounts you are applying for. And if you're applying for too many credit accounts in a short period of time, that bank won't give you that loan, or that credit card issuer won't give you that credit card. Ideally, you want to wait a few months in between opening up new credit cards. To be on the safer side, you could open up one credit card every 6 months. Those are all the main steps necessary for you to go out there and increase your credit score. Let me know about your credit score stories and tips in the comments, and don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe down below to watch more videos like this one. Also, if you're curious on learning how to increase your credit lines on your credit cards, go ahead and click this video right here. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Shoots!